Hey, we're back with That Ain't Black podcast, and I got a really, really, really special guest. You know, my podcast show is about proving that black folks do a lot more than rap, dance, and play basketball. And I got a really, really special guest, and I said probably 1,000 times before, but all my guests are really special because it really takes a lot of gumph and action to get on my show because of the subject matter that we're facing. And this is really great. It's going to be a really great show. This involves everybody because what it involves cars. Everybody has to have a car. Everybody wants to have a car. And just like me, I'm a man and stuff. I really, really, really love cars. And we have a car salesman here, and he's a little bit more different than the average salesman because he gives out a lot of advice that he probably shouldn't be giving out. Because you need to be doing some stuff. Because most of the time, let's be realistic. We say car salesman is not a good. They'll be
Right,
like
right,
they think it's so bad. It's like politics
right,
and car salesmen. They're the
right.
same thing. They
Lawyers.
lie, cheat, and all that kind of stuff. They don't want to do
Right,
that. This
right.
is all right. This is Mr. Linsbderg Pettway, and I'll go ahead and shut my mouth and go ahead and let him introduce himself because he got a really great background before he got into car sales. So go ahead and take the floor, my man.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. It was a honor when I got the invite. When I looked at the name, I said, okay, it's a little different.
Mm,
That ain't black. But when I did
yeah.
some more research, I said, oh, this is a great opportunity. I'm born and raised in Detroit. Went to school down in the South, Alabama State University, and then I had the
Mm,
opportunity to come back to Michigan, and I am currently a sales manager. I have a team of 8 that I work with directly at a Chevrolet dealership in a suburb of Detroit called Feldman Chevrolet of Livonia. I've been there
mm.
7 years, started as a salesperson and worked my way up. And as you alluded to, I've probably been on social media about 7 years, but with the last year and a half, with a focus on educating people, because I didn't mention, but my foundation is in education. I was an
Mm.
educator for 18 years. Started
Wow, that's
off
a
as
long time.
it's a long time. Started off as a
Mm.
teacher, assistant principal, dean of students, assistant principal in a high school, and then I ended my educational career as a high school principal in the city
Wow.
of Detroit. So I got a unique background, love sports. I played sports, so I also coached football and basketball. I was an athletic director. So I'm a little unique. So educating people is my first love and passion. So that's what I try to do. I try to educate people, and I'm very transparent when I approach people during the automotive sale, and I kind of coach them up to put them in the best position.
That's really good. You guys almost made it to the Super Bowl too. I wanted you guys to win this
Almost,
year.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I was
yeah.
pissed off. I was so pissed off, man. Oh man. But going on to this, um, why did you want? How did you end up in car sales though? Because you could have went many other different directions.
Well, that's a great question, and it wasn't my choice. Trust me, it was God's decision to close that educational door, and He opened another one. I was at a school, and that school closed all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden without letting anybody know. They just closed their doors, and it was at the same time I just had a total hip replacement in my right hip. So I was in a
Mm-hmm.
capacity where I had to kind of find something to take care of my family. So I took another job in another school district, and it was kind of rowdy, a little different than where I was. I was breaking up a fight. Kid took a swing at me, jumped out the way, tore my meniscus. So I had to have meniscus surgery. I went on workman's comp, and when I was on workman's comp, the principal let me go. So I
Mm-hmm.
was unemployed for 8 months. I went on several different interviews, trying to find a job, trying to find a job. I have 2 degrees, 2 masters. Okay, I have a master's
Wow.
in
Oh man.
educational administration. I have a master's in athletic administration. So I could be an athletic director, or I can lead your school. So I really thought
Mm.
that's what I would be doing. But I went back to my roots, which was personal training, and I was personal training this young man, and he was like, "Man, you ever thought about selling cars?" And I said, "No."
Mm.
He said, "Well, maybe you should think about it, man. You know, you need something to do. You need a job." And at that time, I was on my last welfare check load. I mean, I was on my knuckles, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the interview. Interview went great. They offered me the job on the spot. I said, let me think about it. I prayed about it. I came back the next day. I started March 1st, 2017, and in that first month I sold 16 cars.
Wow.
And
Whoa,
then,
man.
yeah, from there I averaged 20 to 30 cars a month. And then I just grew it, and using the power of social media and using my circle of influence, making sure everybody who knows me and know my character, they knew that I sold cars. So that's kind of how I got into this particular career as we are.
That's incredible. I mean, was it like 20 to 30 cars for like one car every other day or something? Like, wow.
Yeah. Sometimes three.
Pretty much,
My
yeah.
goal, my goal was three. My goal is 3 cars a day. You got to think, Blaine. We're there.
Oh,
Some
man.
days, we're there 9 to 6, and then we're 9 to 9. So if I'm there 9 hours or 12 hours, that's one car every 4 hours or one car every 3 hours. So
Oh,
some days
wow.
it doesn't work that way. That's the golden plan. But some days you don't sell a car for 2, 3, 4 days in a row. And then like today, I had 3 cars sold. So
Wow.
it works differently. So.
What's the average car salesman sell? You look a bit above average. You got the gift of gab or
Uh,
whatever, or what?
well, no, I mean, I talk to people in a way in which they want to be talked to. So if I'm talking to a person across from me, I'm treating that person as if I was sitting in that seat, how I wanted to
Okay.
be and talked to with transparency, with integrity. I make sure my team understands that the person you're talking to could buy a car from anybody. So
Hmm.
what's going to separate you from that other person? And that's the level of customer service. But the average is maybe 10 to 12 cars a month, depending on
Wow. Okay.
the geographical area.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Okay, because I see you on Instagram, and you were giving out a lot of great advice, and you were giving out a lot of advice about when you sit back and buy a car. Because I was like 19 years old, got some money, and like the old saying goes, they must have seen me coming. They bopped me, man. I mean,
Right.
he was like, oh man, you gonna get this girl, man. And like I was thinking, I wasn't thinking nothing about insurance, nothing.
Right.
I just
Right.
wanted to sign a contract. That's all I wanted to do.
That's all
It
you
was
want
like
to
a
do.
Thursday. I was just thinking about the weekend. I'm thinking about getting the beats in my car. Thinking about putting some rims
Right.
on it. That's all I was thinking about. I was naive. They bopped
Right.
me,
Right.
man.
And
And
a
I
lot
see
of
you get,
people don't
yeah.
understand that. Yeah, it's a
Mm-hmm.
process to buying a car, and sometimes you are taken advantage of the lack of knowledge. The
Mm-hmm.
Bible even says the lack of knowledge, the people perish. So you got to kind of know what you're doing. I even wrote a book, How to Get the For
Mm-hmm.
Real Deal. It's the For Real Deal playbook for car buyers. So
Wow.
I give enough interesting information so you can go in informed, but I didn't give enough to get kicked out the
Okay.
fraternity.
Because
Right.
I look like you're the only one doing it in the game. I never seen a car salesman get this much advice and stuff, and it's
Yeah.
incredible. I
Yeah.
was, because I was kind of suspicious. I was like, what is this? Some kind of gimmick or something like that?
No,
GM's
no.
doing something or what? And I was like,
Well,
man,
no. I
yeah.
mean, what the average person can, number one, buy anything online, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can almost buy a house online. So a lot of people during COVID, they became more tech savvy, in general,
Mm-hmm.
just being able to be on a computer more. So during that time, during COVID, here in
Mm-hmm.
Michigan, we were still selling cars. We would work the
Mm-hmm.
deal from afar. We'll get all
Mm-hmm.
the information up front, send you the numbers, you agree to the numbers. We'll get the car cleaned up, we'll spray it, we'll drive with our gloves on, we'll drop it off in your driveway. So with
Mm-hmm.
that process changing the car buying process, it gave the power to the people. So you know what you want. And I always say
Mm-hmm.
I don't sell cars, I assist you with your purchase. So
Mm-hmm.
just like you were telling me about your baby, that
Yeah,
Corvette,
yeah.
you
Oh,
already
yeah.
know what you want. So if you come in
Exactly.
and you know
Exactly.
what you want, I'm just going to assist you to get it. So I don't need to
Mm-hmm.
go back and forth. I don't need to haggle. Uh, all the information is transparent. You can build your deal online. So with that being said, I just seen a market
Mm-hmm.
um, for myself to be the educator that I am, and it's been working.
Yeah, because you give a lot of great advice. You said something about like negative equity. I didn't even heard that until I
Okay.
seen what your stuff on. Can you go ahead and explain something like what is negative equity?
So negative equity is basically in a simple form. You buy a car. As soon as you buy the car, you drive it over the driveway. The car depreciates. So you
Mm-hmm.
have the car for 2 years and you want to trade it in. Okay. You purchase this car and the car payment is about 560 a month. So you're fine with that. However, you don't realize included in that 560 is the interest. So you
Mm-hmm.
go to trade the car in and you remember signing all the paperwork, but you didn't realize that the interest was for the life of the loan. So you come trade the car in, you got miles on the car. When you purchased the car was 40,000. When you come trade it in, the car is worth 23,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when we pull the payoff is 33,000.
Yeah.
So that negative equity is that $10,000 difference between what the bank still wants you to pay and
Mm-hmm.
what your car is actually worth. So that has to be taken and put on top of the new loan. So when you
Yeah.
get a new car, they roll that over, your payments go up, and then you have a larger payoff at the end. So I give some advice on how to capitalize on that or stop that. Put a larger down payment down when you first buy the car, because if you do that, then you're in a better equitable position. Also
Mm-hmm.
suggest sometimes leasing the car first for 2 to 3 years. Find out if you like it. For lack of a better word, date the car.
Yeah.
Okay, I do like the
Uh-huh.
car, and then you
Uh-huh.
marry it. But as you
Yeah.
date the car, you're making payments, and that's bringing the price of the car down. So when you buy it, you're buying it at a lower overall cost.
Yeah, because I see you be giving a lot of advice, especially to young people and stuff. Because like I said,
Yeah.
they got me good. When I came on in
Hmm.
there, they didn't care nothing about your job, as long as I had that money and stuff like that, I could
Hmm.
qualify or whatever. You was giving that advice like, hey man, you're a young person and you might want to go ahead, go down, get you something a little less expensive, and make sure you got some savings set aside for a rainy day. And I've never ever in my life ever would think that a car salesman, especially a car salesman, new or used, would ever give that kind of advice.
Yeah, I
Could you go
have.
ahead? Mm,
Well, as I stated, I was in education, so I'm used to educating young people.
mm,
One, excuse me, I have three sons,
mm,
17, 16, and 12. And I always
mm,
coach. So I was always around young people. So I've always been in a position in which they look for me for advice. And I
mm.
remember when I was 19, I had a sister that was in the automotive industry. So she kind of helped guide me. So what happened to you didn't happen to me. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, so many young people don't get that opportunity. This is a different type of topic, but when I was as a high school principal, I had a life skill class added. So I taught young people how to write a check. I taught young people, well, I didn't. We had a program where taught them how to write a check, how to interview, how to save
Mhm.
money. And one of the things we talked about was credit.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, in the black community, sometimes we're not fortunate to have these credit discussions at the right age
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
understand the
Yeah.
value of credit.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then once you get out here, you haven't established yourself. So when you come to the dealership, you're in a position like, please get me done because
Yeah.
you haven't even did the simple things. Because there's some simple things you can do to build your score.
Mhm.
And those things are like get a credit card, use it for gas, use it for small things, and as you use it, it cycles up, and you establish yourself with some type of trade line. So I just felt the
Mhm.
need to continue to be the educator that I am, and it's working. We get a lot of questions
Mhm.
from young people.
Yeah. Definitely, because when I was coming up, especially with black community, we did not, I say, business or money suave or whatever like that. My mother didn't know anything about credit or business, something like that, so
Right.
she couldn't pass it on down to me. I was like, okay. So I didn't know nothing until I got older and stuff, and the importance of it and how it affects you, especially like again for black people and stuff, because a lot of times we get exploited because we don't know that.
Right.
We end up
Right.
paying a
Right.
lot more for stuff that we shouldn't have, and you don't know the
Hmm.
importance of it. Especially being a young male and everything, you see all these rappers and everything like that, and just a guy in general, we love cars and stuff. and they want to
Right.
go out here and get the best thing possible. They're not even thinking about getting a house or renting an apartment or something like that later on down the line. As long as you got your whip,
Right.
as long as you out stunting and doing all this kind of stuff, and you're like, hey man, wait a minute, you might want to go ahead and branch off on something a little bit smaller. I mean, there's one rapper, yeah, purchased like a $300,000 Mercedes Benz or something like that. The other
Yeah.
guy told him and said, "Hey man, you could have bought 2 or 3 houses. That Mercedes Benz is going to go down in value, but those houses are going to
Depreciate.
go up in equity. Yeah, so
Hmm.
5 or 10 years from now, that 300,000 only going to be worth maybe 125 and stuff. But those houses,
Right.
that's the 3 houses that you could have bought, they're going to go on up.
Right. Right. Could be worth the millions at least. Yeah. Yeah. And it's residual income.
Exactly.
Right. And you're
Okay.
right. We
Yeah.
never get those lessons um, at an early age, so we can make the right decisions when we get into that 25 through 30 stage.
Exactly. Exactly. Because your best purchase probably should be a house.
Right, right. Well, the two largest
Definitely.
purchases are houses
Mm,
and cars. You
exactly.
can, yeah,
Exactly.
if you buy a car, you do it right, you can
Hmm.
establish your credit because what the bank sees when you go to buy a home that you were able to sustain a decent payment and you paid it on
Exactly.
time consistently. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, being a man in the industry, how many of us are in the industry being car car salesmen, owning dealerships, or what? Can you give me
Okay.
any kind of outlook on that? Because
Yeah,
everybody needs a
yeah.
car, man. And
Everybody
we,
needs
like
a
I
car.
said, and brothers love cars, sisters love cars, everybody
Right.
love cars. America's car crazy.
Right, right. And here in Michigan, we are the Motor City capital of the world. So
Exactly. Exactly.
we have the plants here. We have Ford, we have Chrysler, we have GM plants here. So a lot of the cars start here. Back in the day,
Hmm.
more cars were made in America, and they started
Yeah.
here in this area. But one of my I would say mentors or one of the men that I looked up to in business was Mel Farr. Mel
Hmm.
Farr was a black football player that played for the Detroit Lions in the early, I think, 50s and 60s. And then he transitioned to automotive sales. He owned a Ford dealership, and
Hmm.
he was one of the major players in this area. So I had the opportunity to see him run his business because my sister started there in 1978 as a salesperson, and she worked her way all the way up to a general sales manager. So I was able to see the industry, kind of like watching a sporting event. You know how you go
Hmm.
to the game and you sit in
Yeah.
it in the stands. So I was able to see it. Now I'm actually on the field playing.
Uh-huh.
Um, but then it was other black male owners such as Avis Ford, Harrell. He owned a Chevrolet dealership. Porterfield Wilson was a black man that owned a dealership here. So I've seen that aspect of it. But also, in my particular dealership, I've hired several black men to join my team. So, like I stated, I have a team of 8, and I have Mike Battles, Sloan Hogan, Justin Obey, Kevin Morris, and before that, I brought Derek Munson with me. So it's about one, two, three, four, five, six. It's about 8 of us in this
Okay.
particular dealership. 8 black men, yes.
Wow, that's a lot of people. So
Yeah,
what kind of
out of
yeah?
25 salespeople, yeah. Still a
Wow.
small
Okay.
percentage, but yeah.
What kind of skills or background do you need? Do you need to be smooth talker? Do you need to be good at math? Do you need to be an
Well,
actor, or you need to be a combination of three, or something
I
more than
to be totally for real, you could be any of those,
mm-hmm.
to get a position
Mm-hmm.
as a car salesman, but to
Mm-hmm.
be good at it, to have a sustaining career at it. I
Uh-huh.
think you need to have number one, people skills. You
Uh-huh.
have to know how to communicate. Number two, there are some basic math functions that you need. But the mindset has to be that this isn't a job. You own your own business. And that's how
Mm-hmm.
the approach that I take it. And that's the approach that I tell my team. You own your own business. So let's say, for instance, you come into a dealership, I sell you a car, you leave, and then you have an issue with the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to call me, and it's up to me to make sure you get to the service department. Let's say you
Yeah.
trash your car, right? You have an accident.
Mm.
You call me. It's my duty to make sure you get to the body shop, and after information. So it's not just the sale of the car, it's the
Mm-hmm.
follow up, it's the after sale to run it as your own business.
Uh-huh.
Because you made the comment earlier, if you don't sell that dealership and sit and not sell one car for 2 weeks, then I don't get a paycheck. So it's
Exactly.
up to me to take the leads or the customers that come from my own end as well.
Okay. What can you do to get more people in? I got my first car when I was like 19. I probably had like a dozen cars over the years, keep them two,
Hmm.
3 years. That I want to get something different. And like I said, it's not going anywhere. I really love cars, and every you want to do when you hit the lottery, buy a
Yeah, buy a
car.
car.
Oh
Oh
no, no,
yeah,
buy cars,
buy cars. Yeah.
plural.
In the United States, you need a car to get back and forth to work. If you don't have public transportation like New York scenario, you need cars to get back and forth to work. Um, Before I got into the industry, you have a conversation with a regular person who's not in the industry or they're not thinking about buying a car. They don't as a dealership, so they don't realize that
Mm-hmm.
people always need a car. There always are, unfortunately, in our industry where we are, we lease a lot of cars. Then that lease ends, you get another one. Cars break down. So that's if people realize that, then they would want to get into it. Then two, it's a growing pains process to the
Mm-hmm.
team, and he was in furniture sales for 12 years on him establishing himself, and he has the communication skills. How so it's kind of tough because you don't have the repeats and the referrals. You got to get some sales, and that a lot of people try it, but
Mm-hmm.
once you get over that hump, you can be quite successful.
Credit and stuff like that. So as far as black folks and brothers in general, so what can we do to so you can try to get the best deal, you can get yourself established and everything, and
Hmm.
you're not buying too much or
Well, there's a couple different avenues that you can drive down. Number
mm,
one, my child, like I have a 17-year-old and I have a 16-year-old, 18. We're putting him on our credit card as an authorized user. Yeah, he's
mm,
not physically using the card, but he's right. And then this fall, he's going away to school. So then we're going to
mm,
get want them to use responsibly. So you want to get a
uh-huh,
credit card, use it responsibly. So anything that you use a credit card. So if you're
mm-hmm,
buying groceries, swipe, use the credit card, pay to pay the bill. Because
yeah,
what the credit does, it starts to revolve. You use the bill, you create a bill, you pay the bill. Do that, you create a score. A
mm-hmm,
lot of people start off with student loans as their credit, hundreds of thousands of dollars
mm-hmm,
in the negative, right?
mm-hmm,
But that's like my clients is to get a credit card, use it for the things that you need.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I had a pickup, and his credit wasn't the best. It was in the
Mm-hmm.
fives, and he was very upset. And then he was able to buy it. It was a little more expensive. He came back in 3 years credit again. He was over 750. So I said,
Wow.
"What did you do?" He said, "I got a credit card and I pay all of my utilities every month with my credit card. I would pay cash
Mm.
for anyway. I used the credit card, right? And on that 28th day before it hit the interest, we paid it off. Cycled his score up. And when he came back to get his next truck, he even got into a lease because he had a better credit score. So that's
Wow.
the best. Yeah, that's the easiest way to do it if you can't credit cards because of their score. So then you might have to get a secure card. Secure
Yeah.
on it, you use the card because you got the five, and you have to keep refilling it. But with those cards, you have to make sure that that particular card is going to report to the credit. So it's a couple of tricks to the trade that you could do.
Because believe it or not, I'll go ahead and admit this card. And they
Hmm.
say, hey, man, debit card doesn't do nothing for you, bro. You got to
Right,
use your
right,
credit
right.
card.
Got to use your credit card.
And I and he looked at me, but you didn't know that? Like, oh, well, I try to play it off. Well, it
Right,
was, and I'm probably not the only brother out there who knows it, or sister out there knows it and stuff. Now you know
right,
something, and
right.
knowledge is power. Yeah. Okay, what about young people when they come to your dealership? Like you had a
Hmm.
video out, they always want to get the fastest car.
In your
Saying, man,
blood, you
you
want
want
the
the
scat
Corvette,
pack.
you want the Scat Pack, yeah, you want to build
Yeah,
a mass. Yeah, because I remember, I was like I said, a little Corvette. I was going to buy this Corvette. I was like 23, 24 a month. I said, cool, cool. But so you got to get insurance, man.
yeah.
And
You
that's when
got
the
to get
kind of guy kind of
insurance.
walked away. He kind of looked at me funny. Up to
Right,
insurance
right,
people, and the insurance was more than the car. I
right.
was
You
going to
know,
be
it's
able to pay.
funny
I'm like, wait a
for the
minute, hold up.
insurance.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
I did a reel
yeah.
like that. I did a reel like that. I was
Mm,
sitting at the desk and waiting for a Camaro, and
uh-huh.
I said, "Well, before you drive off, you had to have insurance." You're like, "Insurance?" And I'd be like, "Oh man, you know anybody who you can add you to your insurance?" Because I already know, especially here in Detroit,
Mm,
um, they really do us bad as far as the
yeah,
insurance. Because if you don't have insurance, they make you pay like $2,800 down, and then you pay like $450 a month because you're not insurable because you
yeah.
haven't proven that you have had insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So I always
And,
try to tell
mm,
people to calculate the total cost of car ownership. That's the monthly payment. In addition to that, that's the insurance, that's the maintenance, that's the gas, that's all of that.
exactly. Because I know even they do is even dirty because a lot of black folks don't live in nice parts of town or whatever like that, so the
Right,
insurance
right.
rates goes up. Because I remember this one guy said he got his address over this part of town. I said, why is that? Because I'm like, wait a minute, you don't live over here, man. He said,
Yeah,
oh man,
yeah.
my insurance, yeah,
My
yeah. So that's
insurance is cheaper,
definitely
yeah. And
yeah.
then
So
with that being said,
mm,
that happens a lot. And then unfortunately, if somebody gets caught, you shouldn't do that because that's illegal and
mm,
it's fraud. And then that could be a big financial mess and legal mess. So don't do
okay, definitely, definitely.
that.
So what's the future for you, man? You gonna own your own dealership and stuff? You gonna have it like I
You,
remember because I remember this one guy named you probably heard of him, Cal Worthington, back in the day. They
Cal
had a slogan
Worthington.
called "Push, Pull, or Drag," and get your
Mm-hmm.
car in it. He has gimmicks and everything. So you're gonna open
Right,
up your
right.
own dealership one day, or what?
You know what? Honestly, Blaine, I don't know what God has for me. Right now, I'm in a position in my life. These opportunities are coming up. I did another podcast earlier in the week. I got another opportunity, got a couple collaborations in the works. So I don't know. Would I like to own one? Yes. I mean, that would be a ultimate goal, especially to implement my strategies of what I believe as a person and how people should be
Mm,
treated from the time that they walk in to the time that they come in. If you're a repeat customer, this is your third or fourth car you buying from us. What can I do? Here are some free oil changes. Or how can I make you feel that you are valued here at this particular store? So I don't know that, I didn't think I'll be doing this. Right now, I thought I'd be a superintendent of a school district or athletic
okay,
director. So
okay.
I don't know, but stay on the lookout. Whatever I'm doing, I'm sure it'll be for real.
Hey, what's the most expensive car you ever sold, and what's the cheapest car you ever sold?
The most expensive car I ever sold was a convertible no, it was a convertible C7, the ZR1. It was
Mm.
$157,000.
Whoa,
And yeah, it
wait a
was
minute, 157,000. The
157.
guy
Yeah.
put this car, man. The guy
No,
put a car together.
that was the fastest Corvette at that time.
Uh huh.
We have one now that's 165. It's the Z06
Whoa,
convertible C8. Yes, yes.
man.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'll send you a video of it. You might come get it.
Yeah, yeah. I have to
Yeah.
give me some lottery tickets tonight, man.
Yeah.
So
And the
what's the
cheapest the
cheapest?
cheapest car,
Uh
um, the cheapest car was sold was a cash car, and it might have been $5,200. But the
mm,
cheapest car that I sold finance was a Chevy Spark, and it was like $14,000. And
okay.
they financed that for like 72 months. I think their payment was 191.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well,
Mhm.
like the old saying goes, you got to have a car because he who walks alone.
Yeah, yeah. I have a friend of mine. He says a rough ride is better than a smooth walk anytime.
Hmm. Yeah, my mom used to say that. My mom used to say a poor ride's better than a proud walk. Shoot,
Yeah,
get
yeah,
you from
yeah.
point A to point B. I'm gonna
Point
keep
B.
on moving. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Hey man, you've been a really great guest on my podcast show, and I gotta sit back
Appreciate you.
and recommend everybody coming to your stuff, even if you're not in Detroit. You can find some really great wisdom on buying the cars, doing the
Definitely.
financing, the credit stuff, the background, and just in general about cars, because America is cars. You know, I like to think that Chevy is the number one car. Probably get a lot of argument from Mustang guys and other people,
Hmm.
but hey, that's their problem. That's their issue. These just probably car agents for that. But hey, you've been a really, really great guest, and I want you to go ahead and have your own dealership and have a couple of them around America and stuff, and establish that in the black community that
Yeah.
we are here, we doing business wise, which is really good. So the young guys
Hmm.
can look up to you as far as the education and doing something positive in the community and being a good
Appreciate
black
it.
businessman. And some people look up, like I said, other than basketball, football, whatever, and they can sit
Right.
back and say, "Hey, I can do that too. I can have a career in this stuff, and don't have to
Yeah.
do anything wrong, or don't have to have any athletic skills, or be a singer or a dancer, or anything like that. Hey, you
Right.
can
Right.
do it because we got minds. We got minds. Definitely, definitely
Definitely.
got the
Definitely.
mind.
Yeah, I
Definitely,
always
definitely.
say play the cards you dealt. Play the cards
Yeah.
you dealt and try to get as much as you can. I used athletics as far as I could,
Uh
but
huh.
while I was using it, I was making sure I was using this as well.
Okay. Good.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
So you're
Hmm.
gonna sell some cars to the Detroit Lions? Help them
Well,
out next year?
actually, that's happening. Actually, we sent one of the newest
Hmm.
members, Mr. Arnold, the cornerback we got from I think we got him from Alabama. We just sent him some videos of the Z06, the one for
Uh
165. He
huh.
can afford it.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. He can afford it.
yeah.
He
He
can
can afford
afford
it.
it. He can
Yeah.
afford it. Definitely, definitely. But thanks again for being a guest on That Ain't Black podcast. You
Hmm.
gotta go see Mr. Linsbderg Pettway at Your location is.
Fellman Chevrolet in Michigan, Livonia, Michigan, and we can ship cars all over the United States.
Remember that. Just
Hmm.
don't limit yourself from the guy down the street.
Yeah. Call me. I'll take
Okay.
care of you. Get you a for real deal.
Okay, for real. I like that slogan, for real deal. I see
For
that
real
that's a
deal.
good catchy slogan here. All right.
Right.
Well,
Thank you.
again, thanks a lot for being on my podcast show. And I want you to go ahead and have a really great Memorial Day weekend.
You too, brother. Appreciate you. Stay
Okay.
blessed.